Tim's News Explosion. 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 Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Tim's News Explosion on this Monday, the 27th of May, 2024. We are live on the Wilms Front YouTube channel, the Wilms Front Odyssey channel, and the Wilms Front Rumble channel. Make yourselves known in the chat. Hello, Peak Aussieman. It is 9 p.m. here in Melbourne, Victoria, where bird flu has arrived. Or to give it its more alarmist name, highly pathogenic avian influenza. Yes, because bird flu has been around for 30 plus years. So when you hear bird flu in the news, it's popped up again. Peak Aussieman says every election cycle will be a new pandemic to try and get mail-in ballots. So, well, there's still people who are scared of the previous pandemic, which also there is some new group of variants around. So lots of alarmist news, which is, of course, meant that the media has gone into another fear frenzy. So it all started last Wednesday when it was reported by Agricultural Victoria that the avian flu H7N3 strain had been detected at a poultry egg farm in Meredith, which is just to the west of, it's halfway between Geelong and Ballarat. Then later in the day, the Victorian Department of Health reported that an H5N1 bird flu case had been detected in a Victorian child who returned from India in March. Now, H5N1, that is the variant that all the health authorities have been telling us for over a year now could cause the next human pandemic. So I wrote this article on the Unshackled way back in February 2023 that the World Health Organization was already preparing the world for a bird flu human pandemic. And it had already been reported that it's closer because it had been transmitted mammal to mammal, such as minks, otters, and sea lions. And now over in the United States, there's been a number of outbreaks at dairy farms as well. A lot of people are suspicious that if the current bird flu outbreaks don't cause a human pandemic, it will be used to enable a corporate takeover of farms, and also to reduce the availability of poultry and beef, so that the globalists can promote alternative proteins, such of course eating bugs. It's just too dangerous for human health biosecurity for you to continue to eat meat, because don't forget that pork, ham, and bacon, that also can lead to swine flu. And remember, the swine flu pandemic of 2009, that's because swine flu mixed with bird flu to have flying swine flu, which started in Mexico and went all around the world, though we didn't shut down the global economy and force everyone to wear masks, get vaccinated, did we? So that was on the Wednesday. Now, the current Victorian Chief Health Officer, Dr. Claire Looker, she went on a media blitz on Wednesday afternoon, said that the reason why we only found out on the past weekend that the child had H5N1 is because we had done further testing through our surveillance program. So the child had to be admitted to hospital for several weeks, but has made a full recovery. The results came back in the lab that it was influenza A, which avian flu, bird flu is a type of influenza A. So they further tested it, and so that is the lag. Though they did reassure us that despite all of the media frenzy that they'd created, that the risk to humans was low. There's no evidence of human to human transmission of this clade of H5N1, and the child's close contacts all tested negative. The next day, there was another bird flu variant detected at another poultry farm further west in Victoria in Terang, which turned out to be a different variant, H7N1. Both farms are in lockdown. That word again, 400,000 chickens have been killed to stop the spread, and there's been a radial exclusion zone. Of course, we all remember the 5K radius there, people with hazmat suits coming through. You would have seen some of the photos. Then on Thursday as well, it was reported that, this is a low pathogenic H9N2 bird flu strain was reported at a West Australian southwest coast poultry farm. But everyone, fear not. The CSIRO, Australia's Commonwealth Scientific and Industrial Research Organisation, its Australian Centre for Disease Preparedness, is growing bird flu in its lab to develop a vaccine in case of a human pandemic. This went to air on ABC 7:30 last Monday, so before the current outbreaks were reported.
In Geelong, the Centre for Disease Preparedness is a world leader in zoonotic agents, viruses that can jump from animals to humans.
So this is the virus growing in the salmonella?
Scientists here are preparing for an avian outbreak as an inevitability. G'day, Frank.
Welcome through.
Thank you.
Come this way.
Thank you very much. We're going deep into the belly of the building where a high biocontainment facility houses some of the world's deadliest known diseases.
These ones are virus, these ones are negative.
Only 28 people have contracted this variant of bird flu so far, and none have died. All of those cases were from infected animals. In this lab, they're growing the virus, researching how a vaccine might work if it started to spread between humans.
It's almost a question that no one wants to ask, but is there any way that this could get as bad as COVID-19 did?
Currently, the virus is still very much restricted from being able to transmit between person to person. So I guess hopefully it doesn't pick up that trait to be easily transmissible between humans.
Pete Osman says, this is too scary for me, or spooky. Which is spooky, the virus itself, or the fact that the CSIRO in Geelong is growing the virus in a lab, and we know that it's pretty much conclusive now that the COVID-19 SARS-CoV-2 escaped from the Wuhan Institute of Virology, and the CSIRO's Geelong Centre for disease preparedness was also experimenting on bat coronaviruses prior to the SARS-CoV-2 pandemic. Now, also a fun fact is that the CSIRO last year appointed former Victorian Chief Health Officer Brett Sutton to lead its health and biosecurity research. And the sister-in-law of Brett Sutton is Jane Holton, the former Australian Health Department Secretary. She is now head of the Coalition for Epidemic Preparedness Innovations, which was set up by amongst its founders was the World Economic Forum and also the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. So its goal is to develop a vaccine when the next human pandemic arises within 100 days. And over in the United States, the stocks of Moderna and Pfizer have erupted after the bird flu outbreaks in poultry in Australia and in cattle in the United States. And the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, they are procuring bird flu vaccines. Though the thing is, and we also had Tedros, the director of the World Health Organization, I just call him Tedros, give a be part of a panel discussion in Davos about disease X, which scientists are already working on. But the thing is, to have the vaccine work, you need the human pandemic to start first. So they're still waiting. They're the key ingredient for these bird flu vaccines. So they're almost all ready to go. So that's part of it to say when the next human pandemic comes and they've got the vaccine ready to go within 100 days. See, look how good we are. How we did so much better than in COVID. We got the vaccine ready and distributed within 100 days. Obviously, they'll still have to force people to take it. The digital IDs are rolled out this time. Australia's rolling out its digital ID. Now in Victoria, we have the Moderna mRNA factory. I think it's near Monash University, set up by Dan Andrews. So of course that can be pumped out of potential bird flu vaccines as well. Now on News Nation, which is one of the US fledgling 24-hour news channels, they had Robert Redford, who was the former Center for Disease Control and Prevention Director when Donald Trump was president, talk about how, well, it can be pretty easy to gain a function, genetically manipulate bird flu to infect humans.
I wrote an op-ed with Mark Siegel in the Wall Street Journal a little while back, really calling for a moratorium on gain-of-function research. I think it puts our world at great risk. We have the risk of natural spillover, but there is a species barrier. I'm obviously most worried about bird flu. Right now, it takes 5 amino acid change for it to be effectively infecting humans. That's a pretty heavy species barrier, but this virus is already now in 26 mammal species, as you saw most recently cattle. But in the laboratory, I could make it highly infectious for humans in months, because it's been published, the 5 amino acids that I need to change. And so I don't think that research should be done. That's the real threat. That's the real biosecurity threat, that these university labs are doing these bio experiments that are intentionally modifying viruses, and bird flu, I think, is going to be the cause of the great pandemic, where they are teaching these viruses how to be more infectious for humans.
All right.
Yes, so it seems that the mad scientists have learned nothing. So we need to create so this is the logic. We need to turn these zoonotic viruses, see how it affects humans, so we can develop the vaccines for it. So you're in. So to make the vaccines, you're actually creating a virus which can transmit to humans. And of course, this was what they were doing in the Wuhan Institute of Virology when the accident happened. And you saw in the ABC cameras in the CSIRO lab there, it wasn't distinguished. At one point, they were wearing the biohazard suits, and when the journalist went in there, they were just wearing goggles. No, well, not that they do anything. Masks, and they were just filling the vials and injecting the eggs with what we presume are bird flu vaccines. Though, if you're not scared about bird flu, you should be scared about the latest group of COVID variants, because COVID's coming back for winter, the flirt variants. And 9 News pumped out throughout all of their news bulletins the fact that their seniors reporter, Bruce Page, had been floored by COVID.
A health warning tonight as a new mutation of COVID sweeps the country just in time for winter. The strain is highly contagious, prompting new advice on boosters and antivirals.
It takes a lot to floor 9 News seniors reporter Bruce Page, but the past few days have been miserable.
This is a man who's had 6 shots. I thought, bulletproof? No, got me.
It's not the 75-year-old's first brush with COVID, but this round is much worse.
Knocked me over. First time was a breeze compared to this. Aches, coughing, ribs are sore from the coughing. I don't like it.
It does look like we're in the midst of a new wave. It's not just our state, it's basically the whole country, and in fact most parts of the world are seeing a similar thing right now.
Driving the fresh threat, a family of highly contagious new subvariants called flirt, with seniors and at-risk people who haven't had a recent booster vaccination being urged to get one.
Those people are still very susceptible, particularly with these new variants, and with case numbers rising, that will result in hospitalisations and people not surviving.
Infectious diseases experts say antiviral medications are effective if you take them early enough, though not every pharmacy has them in stock, as Bruce found.
The doctor put me on antivirals, and then the problem was trying to find a pharmacy that had them. We got lucky with number 3. And they've really made a difference.
Have a chat to your GP or pharmacist ahead of time. Come up with a plan for if you get COVID so you can get tested and get antivirals.
Bruce's advice: don't put COVID on the back seat.
Get your boosters, wear your masks, wash your hands, all the things we were told when it first hit us. This has really hit me hard. It's a wake-up call.
The fool, if only he'd taken his 7th shot, he may have had a milder second infection of COVID. Yes, you're likely to get the COVID flirt variant by flirting. I mean, it's the most hilariously named group of variants. I remember there was a couple of other hilariously named variants that didn't take off. The BJ variant, which obviously you could get through BJs, exchanging bodily fluids in that way. And then there was the FU variant that was in Thailand for a while. Now, they promoted also antivirals. Now, a study on Pfizer's Paxlovid showed that it didn't really do well, marginally. And of course, the taxpayer pays $1,000 every time. So the Australian taxpayer paid $1,000 for Bruce Page's round of Paxlovid. So Pfizer's not only has made a huge have COVID has not only been a cash cow for them in terms of vaccines, but antivirals. And remember, of course, that Pfizer researcher who went on the grinder date with with when James O'Keefe was still with. I've completely lost lost the name of the organization he used to work for. But when he was confronted by James O'Keefe, he said, I was lying to impress a date that we were mutating COVID to develop more vaccines and to keep the money rolling in. Now, the World Health Organization, Tedros, has been promoting bird flu and disease X in the hope of getting its pandemic treaty through, which would give the World Health Organization complete control over a signatory's responses to the next WHO declared pandemic, about whether it what response, lockdowns, and controlling the supply of medicines, PPE, vaccines, you name it. So we're all glad that it fell over, because most nations weren't prepared to give up their sovereignty to a United Nations organization which has proven itself to be inept, manipulative, and of course, hungry for more power as well. Now, moving on to, it broke in the 9 newspapers on Sunday that the Attorney General, Mark Dreyfus, is drafting new hate speech laws, or tougher hate speech laws, which the Liberal and National opposition have been lobbying for. I mean, gone are the days from 10 years ago when the Liberal Party promised to repeal 18C of the Racial Discrimination Act, which makes it unlawful to intimidate, humiliate, offend, and insult on the basis of race. After Hamas's October 7 massacre in southern Israel, the Liberal and National Party have been demanding tougher hate speech laws in the name of protecting the Jewish community. Now, the Albanese government, of course, seizing this opportunity, and they're going to, it's not just going to be, it's going to not going to be just an expansion of 18C. It's going to impose criminal penalties for what are termed serious instances of vilification based on a person's race, religion, sexuality, gender, and disability. So they're inserting all those others, I think, because, well, they never let a crisis go to waste. And also, they want to wedge the coalition as well. Well, you say you're against hate speech. How come you're not against hate speech for all of these groups? So we don't know whether these criminal penalties will involve jail time or a fine. So these criminal penalties are likely to cover deliberate acts that intend to incite violence or cause harm. What will be the definition of cause harm? Is it feelings? Is it feeling like you've been stabbed in the heart? Not actually stabbed in the heart, or people have incited violence? So we know that in Victoria, the LGBTQ groups who were consulted for this federal law have been lobbying for a LGBTQ anti-vilification laws because they believe that it will outlaw opposition and protests against drag queen story time at local libraries. This would be a federal law which would cover all of Australia. Now, gender, would that just cover biological gender, or would it be the infinite genders? Because under our Sex Discrimination Act, it actually doesn't define sex biology because Julia Gillard removed all that in her dying days of her prime ministership. In fact, when she was prime minister, her government tried to pass the Human Rights and Anti-Discrimination Act, which would have included political opinion as a protected attribute. But back then, because the Liberal Party supported free speech and there was pressure from groups such as the Institute of Public Affairs, it was junked. But now that the Liberal Party, a National Party, no longer believe in free speech, it's the perfect opportunity. And of course, the Albanese government, they want to make sure that they look like they're cracking down on anti-Semitism. Well, the Attorney General, Mark Dreyfus, is Jewish, and so it can't accuse them of turning a blind eye to anti-Semitism. There's going to be a review into racism on university campuses, despite the fact that they're some of the most woke places in the nation. And of course, there has been a revulsion to the vandalism of outside a Jewish school in Melbourne, Mount Scopius College, which Jew dye was spray painted on the front gate by a masked person on a bike Friday night. And we also have tomorrow night Josh Frydenberg's documentary on Sky News Australia, Never Again, where he speaks with Holocaust survivors, speaks with Anthony Albanese, Julia Gillard, John Howard. I will certainly be watching that. You also wonder if the Albanese government and Dreyfus have included sexuality, gender, and disability, because the Nazis, they also put homosexuals in concentration camps. They burned LGBTQ books and also experimented on the disabled as well. So they will claim, well, we're going to enshrine in law everything that protect everything in law that the Nazis were against. That looks to me one of the underlying things, even though it's probably not said explicitly. Now, of course, we have heard for a number of weeks, I think even months now, about the domestic violence, sexual violence epidemic here in Australia. There was a murder-suicide in Perth on the weekend where a man murdered a mother and daughter at a property he thought his ex-partner was at. Couldn't find her, so just murdered them himself and turned the gun on himself. That's also being used as justification for further gun control as well. And of course, what has been blamed for the domestic sexual violence epidemic has, of course, been the easy access that young people have to hardcore pornography through smartphones. There's been that campaign from a News Corp, Nova Radio, by Chris Minns, the New South Wales Premier, Peter Malinauskas, the South Australian Premier, to raise the age which young people can access social media to somewhere from 14 to 16 because of the access to age inappropriate materials, cyberbullying, and also the causing of body image issues. But of course, as I discussed on this show last week, the way that this is going to be enforced is through the digital ID system, and what they're promoting as a way to get around privacy concerns is anonymized age tokens. So there's $6.5 million that Anthony Albanese announced for a age verification trial that will be spearheaded by the e-safety commissioner, Julie Inman Grant. Then on the weekend, the federal government launched its new consent.gov.au campaign with its slogan "Consent Can't Wait," which is $40 million. So the front page says most Australians agree that consent is key to healthy sexual experiences, but what does consent mean? What does it look like? Before we can talk to our kids about consent, we need to talk about each other. Now, the ads have already hit the TV screens, but who watches TV anymore? I mean, wouldn't it be more effective in pre-roll ads on online videos where the people are? This is one of them, which is about intimacy consent.
How do I know if there's consent?
What if we've been drinking and we go back to their place?
Is a kiss consent to more? What if I'm not sure?
What if I said yes earlier?
Can I still change my mind?
If we don't know the answers, how will our kids? Consent can't wait. Check your understanding at consent.gov.au. Authorised by the Australian Government, Canberra.
Now, many of people have pointed out the nerve and irony of the government teaching us about consent, given almost everything governments do is without our consent, particularly what they did to us during the COVID lockdowns and mandates. Iron Duke says, stop kids watching porn, but don't stop them changing their sex. Now, this is what you've nailed here, is that we're told that, rightfully, children should not be able to access any form of pornography, because obviously them seeing that hardcore material at a young age certainly will give them a warped and disturbed perspective on sex. Everyone agrees on that. But the solution of the government is more graphic and earlier age sexual education and respectful relationships programs. And with all of this, what's called this porn, with all this talk about this porn epidemic in youth, we are hearing from our politicians and the media. we're seeing lots of talk. So we're talking about the negative effects of pornography, but there is all this talk in the media and by our politicians about what's in this pornography. This is what Tanya Plibersek said on ABC News Breakfast.
Kids are seeing pornography that includes choking and anal sex before they've had their first kiss.
So 10 years not into anal sex, that could be deemed as a homophobic slur. She could fall afoul of her own government's new laws. But I noticed that when it comes to heterosexual intercourse, that anal sex is bad, but it's okay for homosexual male couples because, well, that's the only hole that they have down there. So it's always very narrow. These sort of. I know that in that ad they showed a lesbian couple, a homosexual male couple, and some various ethnic couples. But when these conversations are had, the main target or the main group that they're wanting to demonize and blame is young teenage white males. We saw the vilification of those male students at those high schools who wrote the lists ranking their female colleagues. Obviously, the boys at Yarra Valley Grammar, they were incredibly stupid to have an unrapeable category, and that's why 2 of them got expelled. Now, going back to what our government teaching us about consent. So it lists sexual consent relates to sexual activities such as sexual intercourse, touching someone in a sexual way, sharing sexual images, online sexual activities, and sexting. This means there is only consent to a sexual activity if everyone involved agrees with each other to take part, really wants to take part. They don't feel they have to. Checks in with each other to make sure how everyone wants to take part. Shows or says they want to take part in a clear and open way. This is the whole. We've got these affirmative consent laws that and it's always applies to, well, heterosexual, or should I say normal sex, that basically for a young man to partake in sexual intercourse with a woman, she basically has to say, oh yes, oh yes, oh yes, all throughout the way through, because she can withdraw at any time her consent. So, but it says here, because a lot of people have said with these affirmative consent laws, you basically got to have a consent contract, but you're not allowed to say that sexual consent is a problem to solve. Well, you made it all damn confusing with all of this affirmative consent, and it's not a transaction or a contract, an exchange where someone gives or receives consent. Consent can be learned as part of a set of skills needed to have safe, fun, and pleasurable sexual experience. It does not matter if you're in a relationship or not. There must be consent for a sexual activity to be free from violence, pressure, and control. And they've put out this infographic. I think where did I put all my photos? Here we go. So this is it says Australians experience sexual violence at an alarming rate, and so this is from most of it is from an ABS survey from 2021-2022, but it's based on a sample, and the ABS applies various weighting to it as well. And there can be flaws in that respondents can't answer the question. And it was also during COVID lockdown, so their sample size was lower. So the Australian government, Australian Bureau of Statistics, claims that 1 in 2 women and 1 in 4 men have experienced sexual harassment during their lifetime. 1 in 5 women and 1 in 16 men have experienced sexual violence since the age of 15, though the sample group was only people over 18. For victims, survivors, and perpetrators, the most common age of sexual violence occurs is 15 and 19 years old. Again, saying that there's this epidemic in youth, these boys, and wink wink, not the white boys, they are sexually assaulting young girls at an alarming way, copying what they are exposed to in pornography. That's often that's what I've heard repeated. And so over here it says, we want to create a shared understanding about consent. So 1 in 2 Australians are conflicted in their understanding of consent. Certainly not, you haven't made it any clearer. 3 in 4 Australians agree that consent is a very important topic. 86% of people agree that adults should talk to young people about consent. 29% of people agreed with the statement, when a man is sexually aroused, he may not even realize that the woman doesn't want to have sex. 10% of young people agree that women say no when they actually mean yes. And so it says young people still hold problematic attitudes on consent and equality in relationships. 10% of young men agree that if a woman is raped while drunk, she is partly responsible. Now, they've got ambassadors for this campaign, a male and a female. If I go to, so they've got Chanel Contos, who she came to prominence during the Me Too 2.0 protests after Brittany Higgins came forward with her story during in the, of course, the infamous interview now with Lisa Wilkinson, and of course, the news.com.au from Samantha Maiden. So she has started a website called Teach Us Consent. To ask for sexual consent education in schools. And also has published a book, Consent Laid Bare. Last year, she won the Australian Human Rights Award in 2021, the Young People's Human Rights Medal, and was honoured as one of the BBC's 100 women in 2022. Now, the male ambassador is Daniel Principal, who is described as a youth advocate. Now, he's associated with Collective Shout, that organization founded by Melinda Tankard-Reist, which says it campaigns against the sexual exploitation of women and girls. Though, as I have previously said, that I believe that Melinda Tankard-Reist, and Collective Shout has a particular anti-male bias. I mean, Melinda Tankard-Reist, according to her, basically all young men do these days is basically think about ways to sexually degrade and harm women during sexual intercourse, because that's what they learn from pornography. Now, we all agree with protecting girls and boys from sexual exploitation. Last week on the ABC's Four Corners program, there was a story on kid influencers, it focused on these 3 kid influencers. One was a 9-year-old cheerleader, one was a 15-year-old girl, I should say, 15-year-old female dancer, and one was a 4-year-old clothing model. And obviously, Instagram doesn't allow children under 13 to have their own accounts, so the accounts are run by the parents. Though all of the parents featured, they were all mothers. I didn't see any fathers. And one of the people that they interviewed, who worked in these child fashion shoots, was a female as well, and they had one of the researchers from Collective Shout as well. It made me both angry and disgusted that these mothers are putting their children, the daughters, like obviously a cheerleading and dance outfits, they are revealing even on children. The fact putting even if it is a dance on Instagram, all of those pervert, disgusting men making comments. Now, the mothers obviously filter them out. Now, the mothers say, "Oh, the child loves it because they're getting all these followers." Well, they're seeing all that. Obviously, they like the popularity, but they're also, well, to protect them, they're filtering out all of the creeps. So they are getting a warped perspective on what it's like to be a social media star. But the thing that I took from it is that a lot of the exploitation of girls is happening from women. And so Collective Shout, even though it blames male, puts much of the blame on male predators. Now, obviously, these Instagram creeps, perverts, are pedophiles, are males, but it's the mothers putting them out there. And you wonder, are the fathers in their lives? I mean, I miss the good old days where a father would basically threaten a prospective boyfriend of his teenage daughter with murder if you touch my little princess. And obviously, they would advise their teenage daughter to, well, maybe not wear that outfit or wear that makeup. Now, of course, there's the whole thing. Oh, you shouldn't tell to people what they wear. They weren't asking for it. Though the e-safety commissioner, Julianne Brandt, she was featured on it and said you wouldn't put your 12-year-old daughter dressed like that at the corner of King's Cross at midnight on Saturday night. So why are you putting it online? So I think it was the only time that us and Julianne Mann Grant have been on a unity ticket. Iron Duke says, look at the US beauty shows, always pushed by idiot mothers. Yes, Dance Mums, here comes Honey Boo Boo. Dion G says, mothers becoming pimps. Iron Duke also says, the funny thing is straight white men are by far the least likely to do bad things to girls and women. I know that there's been, it's a catch cry men need to step up, but it seems that it's the fathers, the male figures do a better job of protecting young girls and women from sexual male predators as well. And I've told you about the investigation discovery series I watched quite on set, where that homosexual child molester Brian Peck repeatedly raped Drake Bell. His father, he was immediately suspicious of Brian Peck. Now, his parents were divorced, Drake Bell, and so when the father was frozen out, it was the mother who let Drake stay over at Brian Peck's house when the abuse happened. It was the mother who let her guard down. So women are their own worst enemy when it comes to and obviously you have to make a difference between girls under 18 and women. There's a lot of these feminists who claim that adult women can't consent to prostitution, OnlyFans, sex work, because of patriarchy. And this is the thing about feminism, that all the other women are stupid and helpless except for us. But the women who get into those things, well, a lot of them say when they leave, oh, like I was pushed into it, and that they changed their story. Obviously, there's been a lot of controversy about what is that, Nala making $9 million from OnlyFans, but then being a born again Christian, maybe she just didn't want to do it anymore. Now, of course, the men are always blamed for being the consumers, but it's women who put themselves out there. So, and obviously, they want to make the money as well. So this is this is where the collective shout feminist narrative falls apart. I know that collective shout, their most I would say futile campaign was against the 50 Shades of Grey books and movie, because what made it a bestseller was all the women who bought it, because they liked BDSM fantasies. Now, obviously, that has to be based on consent, and this is why children viewing that sort of pornography warps their understanding of sex, because all of these, because they don't understand that not all women want that, as there is a lot most people just want normal sex, not all of this kinky fetish BDSM stuff as well. But it turned into a bestseller, this book, 50 Shades of Grey, the trilogy and a movie. So it was quite ridiculous of Collective Shout to say, no, women are wrong for buying this book, reading it, and liking the movie as well. And they also seem to that any form of showing a beautiful woman is a form of sexual exploitation. We certainly don't want to be in a West where be in the West like the Islamic countries where women are supposed to cover up. I mean, obviously, I'm in two minds when I see a woman who is dressed, I would say, quite revealingly. I was like, I don't need to see that much. There's all those yoga pants, but also, well, if you got it, flaunt it. Women and men work hard for their bodies. We like to look at beautiful things, including beautiful people, and beauty is health as well. Do people really believe that Lizzo is healthy? She hasn't handled the South Park End of Obesity special either. So I haven't watched it yet, but I certainly will watch it probably after this stream as well. And now, rest of Australian news. So Julian Assange, he has won an appeal to appeal his extradition to the United States. So the reason why this appeal was granted, and again, he's still locked up in solitary confinement, is because the US prosecutors aren't going to allow him to plead First Amendment defense, despite the fact, the whole ludicrous thing, he's an Australian. How can he be charged with espionage by a country that he's not a member of? This is the whole ridiculous thing. How can an Australian be charged with espionage against the United States? He can only be charged with espionage, sedition against the country that he's a citizen of. We also had the CSIRO and the Australian Energy Market Operator release what is called their Gen Cost report, claiming that nuclear would cost twice as much as the renewables. They said they included the cost of the transmission lines, and they said that it wouldn't become active for another 16 years. And they seem to have a worst case scenario for cost blowouts for the construction of nuclear power plants, and also make the claim in their study that they'd automatically cost more to construct in Australia than they recently did in South Korea. But there's going to be no cost blowouts with the Rewiring the Nation for $20 billion and other renewables as well. If renewables are so good, then why is New South Wales Premier Chris Minns extending the life of the Earing coal-fired power plant for another 4 years, from 2025 to 2029? He probably doesn't want energy price hikes impacting his re-election in 2027. Now, of course, he could just throw money at energy subsidies, like the Queensland Premier Stephen Miles, $1,000 credit for every Queenslander on their energy bills. And his most recent pre-election bribe, which he's still going to lose, is a 50-cent public transport cost trial starting from August 5 and lasting for 6 months through the election campaign. He's hoping that the bribe is right, though he's going to lose badly. I mean, they should have probably stuck with Palaszczuk. I mean, she was far less annoying than Giggles Miles. He's probably just trying to soften the landslide defeat instead of leading the Queensland Labor Party to humiliating loss, slightly less humiliating loss. And this is probably Rishi Sunak's campaign strategy too. I mean, he can't seriously believe that he's going to win. He's just basically wanting to save the furniture. Oh, well, there's not much furniture to save. There's basically a cushion or a poof that's been available to save. One of his campaign stops was via the Belfast shipyards where the Titanic was built, and he was asked by the media, "Are you captain of a sinking ship?" Rishi Sunak steered the Conservatives to the iceberg a long time ago, and it's already sinking now. It's already the rats are deserting the sinking ship, and probably so is their chief rat, Roland Rat. He shocked his own MPs by calling the general election for the 4th of July. Termination Day is what it will be called. Some people speculated that he wanted to get out by the summer so he can go off to California with his green card, and his two daughters can start school for the new school year. Because most people believe that he could have held on until November, December, and of course, the fact that not only did he blindside his colleagues, he blindsided, I think it was James Verley said, the cloud seeders, because he announced the election date of the election outside of 10 Downing Street when it was pouring rain without an umbrella. It was called Drowning Street, and Steve Prey, that obnoxious pro-EU Tories Out campaigner, was blaring out, pun intended, the Tony Blair 1997 campaign song, the DREM, that Northern Irish band from the 90s, their popular hit, Things Can Only Get Better. Have a look how small Rishi Sunak is compared to that lectern out number 10. He looks so tiny. The lectern looks bigger than him. And now, the newspapers, the tabloids, they had a field date. They said things can only get wetter. And now at the first campaign launch at Conservative HQ, Sky News UK were kicked out live on air because it was only filmed by the Conservative Party there. And they made sure they've got an elevated stage for Rishi Sunak so that he appears taller on the stage. Though there is still terrible mishaps on the campaign trail. For example, Rishi Sunak is flying on Tory donors' private jets. I don't know why they're pissing their money away. He's behind an exit sign there. And now, I thought the best parody of Rishi out in the rain was this comedian Will Sebeg Monteflore. Now, he's a lefty, but this is hilarious. Him filming this parody while he's drenching himself in his own shower.
It is raining, and I have no umbrella. With me and this government, things can only get wetter, better. Steve, turn it off, please. We could have recorded this under something, but we decided not to. Because roofs, umbrellas, shelters, they're all incredibly woke. And that's why we're doing our best to separate vulnerable people from their roofs and their shelters. It's what we've been doing for the past 14 years. We promised you sunlit uplands. And what you've got is sewagey wetlands, but they're our sewagey wetlands. It is time to call a general election because I am sick and tired of this and I want to move to Silicon Valley. We have made it rain in many, many ways. Backtracking on green policies to make the weather less predictable. Financially, we've made it absolutely poor on Rwanda so we can send exactly 0 people there. 5 PMs in the past 10 years. We have a plan, and that plan is to confidently tell you it isn't raining. I am not wet. I am charismatic. The Supreme Court is foreign. We lowered inflation. We care about you. Poverty is a choice. Protest is a crime. There are no refugees, there are no asylum seekers, there are only small boats. Everything good in the past 14 years was us. Everything bad was whichever marginalised group we chose that week. You are more powerful when you're divided. Stay that way. When you go to the polls, don't think of the politicians. Don't think of the businesses. Think of the people who started doing satire online, are doing their debut Edinburgh shows this year, and now are completely
Yes, I'm trying to convince Rishi Sunak's trying to convince the British public that we're not pissing on you. We haven't pissed on you for the past 14 years. And well, one of the reasons, the speculative reasons why Rishi Sunak decided to call a snap election was because inflation came in at 2.6% for the end of the year, though then there was the migration figures which came out the next day, which of course were only slightly down on last year's record. So there was going to the. I'll make sure that that I've got it out here. So the net migration figure was a 685,000 for 2023, so slightly down from the almost 800,000. And there have been 10,000 illegals who have come by dinghies to this year alone. Now, the other reason speculated for Rishi Sunak's decision to call a snap election is because got wind that Nigel Farage was going to stand for reform, and now he said that he is not, but he is going to campaign with Richard Tice, the Reform Party leader. Nigel Farage is the honorary chairman. Now, Richard Tice, he can't talk to ordinary working class people. I mean, he is slightly better talking to people than Rishi Sunak. Did anyone see another howler from Rishi Sunak as he asked a group of Welsh voters, are you looking forward to the Euros? Wales didn't qualify for the football UEFA European Championship. Like, he does realize, Rishi Sunak, that when it comes to football, England, Wales, Scotland, Northern Ireland compete separately. I mean, Sir Keir Starmer, for all his faults, he's actual genuine footy fan. He takes time to watch Arsenal games during his busy schedules. So Rishi Sunak, he can't talk to ordinary people, and there was an event at what looked like a factory, and the two high ves people that asked him questions were Tory councillors, so which these things are found out very quickly. I mean, I know that David Clues from Unity News Network and a bunch of others believe that Rishi Sunak is deliberately throwing the election. Because the Una Party has decided that Sir Keir Starmer is, as well as being anointed by the then Queen, is now to be anointed as the new globalist leader of the UK. Now, Rishi Sunak, he's a World Economic Forum attendee, so is Sir Keir Starmer. And the last Labour Prime Minister to win an election in the UK, Tony Blair, is tipped to replace Klaus Schwab as executive chairman of the World Economic Forum. When he steps down in January 2025. This is Tony Blair in the current year. And so, yes, he's looking very devilish these days, devil's eyes. It's, I mean, I'm not sure if any of our viewers remember the 1997 Conservative Party poster, New Labour, New Danger. They actually had to superimpose devil eyes onto Tony Blair. But in 2024, this is not Photoshop. That's Tony Blair's real devil eyes in 2024. Maybe they could see the future. It's actually aged well. The New Labour, New Danger devil's eyes. Now, of course, Sir Keir Starmer is aiming to beat New Labour. So in his election ad, he says, the Labour Party has changed, basically saying we have banished Corbynism and Jeremy Corbyn. We love Israel. The anti-Semitism that Jeremy Corbyn and his allies were accused of, that has all been purged. Jeremy Corbyn has now been expelled from the Labour Party. He is going to be running as an independent for his constituent. Well, he announced he was running as an independent. That gave the Labour Party the trigger to expel him. He's not going to be running for the Workers' Party of Britain, George Galloway's party. We will see if they can be spoilers on the left. I doubt that Reform is going to be spoilers on the right. They've now crashed to around 10%. They're not going to win a seat. It was a 20-point gap between Labour and the Conservatives, about 44 to 24, though they've been gaining in the polls, the Conservatives. They've gone up 2 points. So Rishi Sunak will say, see, my plan is working. And of course, he's, I think in gallivanting the aging Tories, has announced a compulsory national service for over 18s. And now a lot of people have pointed out that you've spent the British governments at all levels have spent the 21st century demonizing native Brits and wanting the UK military to fight for globalist wars. And he says this will foster national pride. You've actively demonized national pride, and young people are not going to be inspired to serve the globalist agenda, whether it's been in the military or the police or the NHS. Now, there's been, because this is just basically, and Nigel Farage said this himself, this is something plucked from a focus group. Maybe it's to get out the base, because James Cleverly said, they wouldn't face jail time, those who refuse to do national service, but apparently their parents will be fined, even though they'll be 18 at the time and then be adults. It's a complete mess. Now, Sir Keir Starmer's pitch for the youth vote is to give 16 and 17-year-olds the right to vote, because it says if you can pay taxes, you should be allowed to vote. That, of course, benefits them as well. And now the as I said, there is already the rats are deserting the Conservative sinking ship steered by Roland Rat Rishi Sunak. 76 at last count are not contesting. The most high profile, Michael Gove, that Machiavellian figure who it seems that the Tory intellectuals, they still believe that the sun shines out of his arse. Also retiring is Andrea Leibson, who was the last candidate who was left opposing Theresa May in 2016, who is recontesting, is of course Jeremy Hunt, the Chancellor, and of course Michael Fabricant, even though he's in his 70s now. He is recontesting, and I assume his wig will be around for the campaign as well. Now, a lot of commentators have said that Nigel Farage, he said he wants to focus on the US election. So he's actually sacrificing his homeland for a foreign land. A lot of people have been pointing out that he basically wants to, after the Conservatives are smashed, he wants to lead a new Conservative movement. It's not going to be as easy as that. I mean, the Tory party still has all of their various different factions. I mean, the right is not going to take over automatically. There's still the left of the party, Penny Mordaunt, Caroline Noakes, all of these lefties. They won't want to give up the Tories to the Conservative Party, to social conservatives and nationalists. And of course, Sir Keir Starmer and Labour could turn out to be not half bad. Now, and also, despite Rishi Sunak calling this like you call an election when your party's ready to go. The Conservatives still need 160 candidates to run because there's 650 constituent seats in total. And Labor only need about 13 more. So I think that the bar is very low for the Conservatives. If Rishi wins more than 0 seats, he will have saved the furniture. It's just a question of how big Sir Keir Starmer and Labor's landslide will be. We certainly won't be seeing during over the 6 weeks until the 4th of July, Princess Kate. She is apparently not going to be seen for the rest of the year. And this is also what other parents have communicated to the newspapers who go to school with William and Kate's children, and they've only ever seen Kate from the car. And so this gives extra plausibility to David Clues from Unity News Network, but other people believe this as well, that Kate is already dead. David Clues believes that William murdered her in a fit of rage, and so the prolonged absence cancer diagnosis is that they're going to eventually announce that she has died from a cancer, because King Charles has cancer as well, and he's out and about. He revealed the blood portrait of himself last week. I mean, for a man in his 70s with cancer, he's out and about. But Kate, who's in her early 40s, she's apparently bedridden, can't come out. So DML says if they try and visit to check on her, they'll be berated by an inflatable clown in the shower. Is that a reference to, I think, Home Alone 2 with the inflatable clown in the shower and the audio? And Ironjuk says, check out the film The Deceivers about Sunak. Can you post a link to that in the live chat, Ironjuk? I certainly would say, I'd love to say that. Ironjuk says, Kate's husband has a new girlfriend. Just saying. Now, moving on to the latest in the Israel-Palestine conflict. So the International Criminal Court prosecutor, Karim Khan, KC, he has applied to the court for arrest warrants for war crimes and crimes against humanity against Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and his defense minister, Yoav Gallant, and also Hamas leaders Yahya Sinwar and Mohammed Dayib Abraham al-Masri, known as Deef. Now, this has outraged the most of the lawmakers and government officials in the United States who still backing Israel to the hilt. Mike Johnson, the House Speaker, has invited Benjamin Netanyahu to address a joint sitting of Congress. Obviously, Netanyahu believes that he is safe from an international arrest warrant. So Ireland, Norway, and Spain, they announced last week that they will formally recognize Palestine. Germany said that they would enforce the arrest warrant against Benjamin Netanyahu. So certainly he won't be setting foot in Germany. What are they going to do? The German authorities going to detain him and transporting by railway to some sort of detention facility. Now, the International Criminal Court is different from the International Court of Justice, which is attached to the United Nations. They ordered Israel to halt its offensive in the Gazan city of Rafah. So it was the International Court of Justice, which South Africa brought its genocide case against Israel. Now, of course, these international courts, they have no real jurisdiction. I mean, sure, they're funded by Australia funds the International Criminal Court, but they're kangaroo courts. International law is not real. I mean, I could create my own international kangaroo court and start handing out my own arrest warrants. I mean, they'll mock all the freedom activists, sovereign citizens, for having arrest warrants for Dan Andrews. I mean, how is the International Criminal Court and the International Court of Justice any different? Wolfish naturalist, yes, I did hear that they are charging Thomas Sewell for offensive behavior during the Eureka March in Ballarat 6 months ago, even though the police allowed them to march down the main street, Sturt Street of Ballarat. Obviously, there seems to have been pressure from the local Ballarat councillors and probably from higher ups in Victoria Police and the Victorian government. And this, if Thomas Sewell was convicted of this, this would set a dangerous precedent that any form of political activism that the state disagrees with, it can be charged and prosecuted and convicted and possibly jailed for gross offensive behaviour. That is very dangerous. And of course, the new serious vilification offences could make let women speak, women will speak rallies, like there was one on Saturday as well. It could make them illegal as well, and the organisers open to prosecution as well. Now, in response to a Hamas air rocket into Israel, Israel struck a UNRWA refugee camp in the Gazan town of Tel al-Satan, killing 35. IDF claims that they were targeting 2 senior Hamas officials, but as is usually the case, there's a whole lot of civilian collateral damage as well, which has made even Piers Morgan, who has been the most vocal mainstream defender of Israel, condemn Netanyahu. Now, he used to be, obviously, Piers Morgan show used to be part of Talk TV, which no longer exists anymore, which is owned by Murdoch. It's the most pro-Zionist news news service in the UK. It's now Talk Stream. It's just called Talk. There's, what is it? They have that show between that, what is it, James Whale and Ash every Saturday night, where it's just those two yelling at pro-Palestinian activists they invite on their show. And obviously there's Julia Hartley Brewer as well. She attended the march against anti-Semitism and has berated pro-Palestinian activists on her show as well. That's basically what talk. It's basically Shout. That's basically, they invite people on to shout them for ratings. There's still a lot of talk about what's happened to Kate Middleton here. Dawn Browning says that Kate is with Andrew Tate. I don't think that that's the case there. All right, now let's go over to Germany, where a new youth anthem is taking the nation by storm. That is Ausländer raus, Deutschland Deutschen. This is a montage of the various spontaneous, I'm not sure if you say spontaneous, but the renditions that have been going around Germany. And now that final Deutschlander Rolch rendition, where it looks like one of them is making a Nazi salute and a Hitler moustache. That, if you're watching this from Germany, you won't see that. That is going to be completely white from the German internet because, well, the German security services, well, they are one of the biggest scrubbers of dissident material online. Now, now that those youths in that final one, they have basically been, well, they're going to be deleted, cancelled from society. Obviously, if that boy was making a Nazi salute and a Hitler moustache, that is clearly unacceptable. I would never support that as part of what is an authentic German nationalist song. And well, the authorities are looking to prosecute all of them, which could be potentially see them in prison for 3 to 5 years behind bars, even greater than what migrant rapists get as well. Now, obviously, the security services and the governments are condemning the Ausländer Ross, Deutschland, the Deutsch, all the youth singing it. It's Martin Sellner. He says that it's they can't stop it now. Now, of course, if you don't understand German, now, of course, I am of a German heritage. You can see my German flag here. To hear this slogan, which is foreigners out, Germany for the Germans, because the mass migration that Angela Merkel allowed from 2018 onwards has caused a massive rise in crime in Germany and also caused the mass social dislocation. Now, the Alternative for Deutschland, a political party, they are currently polling at 15% in the national polls. Now, Germany's federal election is not due until September 2025. The current Chancellor, Olaf Scholz, is from the Social Democratic Party. They are currently coming in third behind Alternative for Deutschland, coming second, and the Christian Democrat party, they are first on around 30%. That's Angela Merkel's party. The Free Democrats, the Liberal Party there, they have crashed in support. The Green Party still around 10%, but the far left party, Die Linke, they have crashed in the polls to less than 5%, which is what you need to get into Parliament. Though Alternative for Deutschland is now Marine Le Pen, who her National Front has disassociated from a European parliamentary bloc with Alternative for Deutschland because one of its candidates for the European Parliament, Max Krah, because he said that he didn't view all members of the SS as automatic criminals. It depends on what they did, which is a fair comment, but still can't say that in Germany and France. So he hasn't been disendorsed as a candidate, but has been banned from making public appearances. So now, like I said, this should be non-controversial. I mean, a lot of young Germans were conscripted to the SS. I mean, the former Pope Benedict, Cardinal Ratzinger, he was a Hitler Youth because he was forced, but that wasn't seen as a blemish on his record. So the nationalist European Parliamentary Group Identity and Democracy ID bloc have excluded the AfD with immediate effect. And so it's also the Matteo Salvini as well. He has also disassociated from AfD. So and of course the state security services are looking to see if they can ban the AfD on claim that they have try to claim that they're too close to National Socialists, which they are not. Now, Germany is going to be hosting the Euro 2024 UEFA European Championship. So now this Ausländer Ross Deutschland, it's set to the tune of the techno song by an Italian DJ, L'Amore Torgia. That's the song. So imagine at all of the German football stadiums during the Euro 2024, you hear the native German crowd sing Ausländer Ross, Deutschland. I mean, it's going to be unstoppable now. Who knew? Like there's been catchphrases, slogans, which have caused revolutions. Now, moving on to the United States, Donald Trump, he has been accused of he's been compared to Hitler for many years, but they claim that the mainstream media have the smoking gun now because he reshared a graphic that was put together and shared by a staffer on his account when he was at court using a news headlines template which had hypothetical Trump headlines from 2025.
What happens after Donald Trump wins? What's next for America? The economy booms. American energy is unleashed and an end to crushing taxes. The border is closed and the largest deportation in history is underway. No more wars as we focus on home. Law and order is restored. The American dream is back and the best is yet to come. Make America great again.
Now, there was still in that template the headline. It's a World War I headline about the German Empire, Reich. Unified Reich leads to rapid industrial output. I think that's the headline, but I might be paraphrasing. But they've all seized on Unified Reich. Reich is the German word for empire. Always in the West in Western media, they believe that whenever the word Reich is used, it's referring to Hitler's Third Reich. Now, it was called the Third Reich because there were two previous Reichs, German empires. There was the Holy Roman Empire, and then there was the German Empire. So they were called Reichs. And in Weimar, Germany, the parliament was called the Reichstag. So it is a common German. It's a common German word for empire. So nice try there. Now, Donald Trump, he made an appearance at the U.S. Libertarian Party convention over the weekend, where he impressed after he was booed quite ferociously by some of the more hardcore, some would say spurgy libertarians, but he got a cheer from the audience when he would say that he would commute the double life sentence of Silk Road founder Ross Ulbricht. Now, Silk Road was an online drug exchange, illicit drug exchange. I'm a libertarian, so I don't believe that drugs should be illegal. The fact that he got a double life sentence, yet there's rapists and murderers who get less, is an outrage. So he got a cheer from the audience, and when he was getting booed, he said, maybe you don't want to win, maybe you just want to get your 3 and 4% for like you do every election cycle. Now, who won the Libertarian nomination for president was Chase Oliver, who is a 38-year-old sales account executive. So I saw that it's Elijah Schaefer and a couple of other accounts has mocked him because during COVID he wore a mask and he was wearing a shirt of the "Don't Tread on Me" porcupine, I should say, in a rainbow flag because he is a homosexual, but he's a Christian, so he says he has a deep faith in the gospel. So, I mean, I don't know how to reconciles that. I'm not a Christian, so I guess that's up to him. So also there was Vivek Ramaswamy, who, as you all know, ran for the Republican nomination. He said that he would actually pardon Ross Ulbricht, and he would pardon Julian Assange, and he would also bring Edward Snowden back home. That gave him a good cheer. Robert F. Kennedy Jr., the independent candidate, he also spoke, said that he refused to wear a mask during COVID because he refused to be a slave. Now, of course, a lot of people are finding out that RFK Jr., apart from when it comes to big pharma and big food, he is still a liberal Democrat. So he wants to he wants to give subsidies to black farmers, supports he's backtracked from abortion until birth, but he's pro-abortion. So yeah, RFK, he's still a liberal, pretty much. He's just he just hasn't lost his mind when it comes to big food and big pharma. And they both appeared, Donald Trump and RFK Jr. on Tim Pool's program. Now, I noticed that because one of the lines against RFK Jr. is that even his own family hates him. And the most prominent family member to attack and mock him is JFK's grandson, John Schlosselberg, who's been mocking him through various impersonations on Instagram. So he is Caroline Kennedy's son, who is the US ambassador to Australia, and is also on the board of Boeing. And so there was the Singapore Airlines turbulence, which led to a 73-year-old man being killed on a flight, Singapore Airlines flight, which plunged 6,000 feet. So it was headed from Singapore to Singapore from London, had to land in Thailand. Now there has been turbulence on another Boeing 747 Boeing airline from Doha to Dublin. Now it landed safely in Dublin Airport. But yes, this is 2 in a week. And of course, Boeing, their DEI policies have a lot of people have attributed its DEI policies to the current poor state of their fleet. And you will remember that 2 Boeing whistleblowers have died suddenly so far, which is quite incredible. One from suicide, one from a short illness. That is, so yes, 2 totally non-suspicious. So, overtime now. So we had Matt Walsh versus Australia. Now the local, various mainstream media, clickbait websites picked up that Matt Walsh called Australia woke and lame because of that Alone Australia survival series, which puts a whole bunch of woke youth into the Australian outback. And he responded to these headlines and Matt Walsh only has the same tone all throughout. He said that Australia shouldn't be invaded. All of the woke people should be all concentrated in the middle of Australia. The good Australians should go over to New Zealand because nobody's really over there. And we return Australia to be the biggest penal colony. Now, you don't know whether Matt Walsh is being serious or not because he just has one tone. He's also got that show on Daily Wire, Judged. Now, why can't Judge with Matt Walsh? Why can't an episode be the arbitration between the Daily Wire and Candace Owens? And Candace Owens, she has she's spoken a truth out loud about the Anti-Defamation League, how that they were founded after Leo Frank. So he raped and killed a 13-year-old little girl and trying to blame it on a poor black illiterate janitor who worked for him. This was 1913 in the racist, segregated South. The evidence was so overwhelming that they convicted him. So he was actually lynched to death, Leo Frank. The ADL now refers to Leo Frank as a victim of anti-Semitism, and so she claims the ADL are sick, perverted defenders of pedophilia and murder. Every single person should study the Leo Frank case and ask yourself why the ADL has so much pull in our government. Yes, my advice would be I wouldn't pick a murdering pedophile to be the poster boy inspiration to an organization dedicated to fight anti-Semitism. Another victim of anti-Semitism, they claim, is the Rosenbergs, who were executed for treason in the early 1950s. So Julius and Ethel Rosenberg. Julius Rosenberg was definitely guilty of of spying for the Soviet Union, providing top secret military information. There's just debate about whether Ethel was complicit with him. She always denied everything, and he refused to implicate her, even to save his own life. Now, the other big unknown is, will China invade Taiwan this summer? Because they had a military exercise which encircled the whole of the island of Taiwan, which is the Republic of China. So now, I will admit, I didn't think that Vladimir Putin would really invade the whole of Ukraine and try to topple Zelensky in Kyiv, but he gave it a go. So I don't rule out that Xi Jinping will finally pull the trigger and order the People's Liberation Army to invade Taiwan. The Taiwanese people, they won't give up without a fight. The new Taiwanese president has been inaugurated, who is very anti-mainland China. So this could be a red line for the People's Republic of China, Xi Jinping. We shall see. And we could get dragged into, this could be a really global hot war if it happens. All right, that brings to the end of the show. Now, I have decided in the end to go to the Tucker Carlson Australia show because there has been a significant price drop in tickets to so in Melbourne, it'll be at the Plenary Melbourne Convention and Exhibition Centre on Monday, the 1st of July. So bronze tickets have been reduced now to $110, which is much cheaper than the $200 gold and silver. So let me know if you are going to be going. And I'm sure that the local Antifa will make a showing there. I'll try to get some footage of them. There'll probably be no footage allowed in the actual theatre itself. Also, my weekly reality check radio, New Zealand, a Wilms report, Australian report, is every Tuesday on Paul Brennan's breakfast program, and report from Tiger Mountain with Richard Wollstonecroft. New episodes every week at the moment, either on Friday or Saturday. Now, remember, if you want to support the work of the Unshackled, you can take out an Unshackled premium membership, the unshackled.net/membership, so $5 per month. Bronze, silver $10 per month, gold $25 per month, platinum $50 per month. And also have a membership on Substack as well. So you can support us with a monthly $5 per month, annual $50 per year, founding $500 per year. And that's also where I post post alerts and email alerts for all upcoming Unshackled shows. Iron Duke says, Taiwan would result in tricoms being exposed to Western submarines that might not go so well for the tricoms. Well, it might not stop them either. So that brings us to the end of Tim's news explosion. Now, I thought to end the show, to play us out, I would put on the screen Martin Sellner, the Austrian Identitarians edit of Eichländer Roche. So without further ado, Eichländer Roche, Deutschlander de Deutschland, the techno song of the summer. Take it away, Martin.
Tim's News Explosion. 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 Tim's News Explosion.